The Apple event is just around the corner, and here are all the things you need to know about the iPhone 14 lineup. So let's start off with the actual phones themselves that we are expecting this year. I'm sorry to say to all of the mini fans, but unfortunately there won't be any iPhone 14 mini starting the lineup this year. Apple will make this change because the mini wasn't bringing in enough sales over the past few years, and people just want larger and larger screens nowadays. Instead of the mini, Apple is going to offer us a much larger iPhone 14 Max, which is going to feature a 6.7-inch display. Recent leaks also suggest that the iPhone 14 Max might be actually called the iPhone 14 Plus, which was last used with the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus to signify just a bigger display. Nothing better about it, just bigger. So to sum it up, the lineup is going to be an iPhone 14, iPhone 14 Plus, iPhone 14 Pro and iPhone 14 Pro Max. The 14 and the 14 Pro are going to feature a 6.1-inch display, and the 14 Plus and the 14 Pro Max are going to feature a 6.7-inch display. Apple is also rumored to decrease the bezel size on each screen to stay on par with its competitors. The biggest change everyone will notice is the departure of the notch design, which has been here since 2018. Apple has been working on incorporating a pill-shaped and a circular cutout to house the Face ID sensor and also the front camera. It turns out that all of the leaks we were getting over the past year were kind of wrong, because Apple actually decided to make it just one pill cutout instead of the two mentioned previously. This was done after hours of internal testing, where they found out that having two elements on the top of your screen was really distracting, because people nowadays are just used to the notch, and this design will be pretty similar, but instead of that you will be getting some additional features. And Apple is going to be using the dead space between the circular cutout and the pill-shaped just to turn off those pixels on the screen and turn them on for various functions. For example, it can show you when an app is using your microphone or your camera, signifying with some colored dots. Unfortunately, this change is going to be only on the Pro models. The iPhone 14 and 14 Plus are going to be sticking with the smaller notch from last year's 13 series. With updating the cutouts on the top of the screen itself is also going to be upgraded, and the Pro model screens should be upgraded to reach all the way down to 1 Hz, going from the 10 Hz from last year's. This would enable Apple to use an always-on display on the iPhone. They could use the technique that was previously featured on the Apple Watch and just turn down all of the colors and brightness and keep a nice image while you're having your always-on display. I think the biggest letdown this year will be that ProMotion will be exclusive to the Pro series and the regular models will be keeping 60 Hz, which I'm not a big fan of, because I think Apple could upgrade the regular models to at least 90 Hz to make them subpar with their Android counterparts. But I still cannot complain about the 60 Hz on iPhones, because it's the best 60 Hz you can get. But at least the regular models are getting a nice brightness bump this year, going from 800 nits to 1000 nits. And with the better screens on the Pros, the battery life should get even better. Actually, there have been leaks that the whole lineup is getting noticeable battery improvements. I think Apple is going to be increasing the battery size on each phone again this year, making the device slightly thicker, but I think it's well worth it for the battery life increase. There are also rumors going around that Apple might be increasing the charging wattage on the Pro phone, going all the way up to 30 watts, which isn't actually such a big upgrade, because last year's 13 Pro Max was actually capable of charging at 27 watts, but it's an upgrade nonetheless, so I will take it. In terms of the whole design of the phone, the 14 and 14 Plus aren't going to be that different from the 13s, so I'm really interested how Apple will present these phones and separate them from the previous generation to make people buy the new one. There have been leaks that the Pro models might be getting titanium sides, but I think Apple will do something similar as they did with the Apple Watch. Just offer a special expensive variant of the phone with titanium sides and keep the stainless steel sides by the side as a cheaper option. Well, if you can call it cheap, above $1,000. So let's get to a feature that probably matters the least to a phone, but most to actual customers, which are the colors. So the iPhone 14 and 14 Plus are going to be coming in red, white, black, blue, purple and green. I think Apple is going to be going for a slightly darker purple on this one compared to the purple they went for with the 12 series. But the green is probably going to be staying the same as they went for with the 13 series. As it goes for the Pros, the Pro colors are going to be graphite, gold and silver, the classic ones. And then Apple is apparently going to be keeping the Alpine green from the 13 series and adding a brand new purple color, which I'm really excited about because I really like purple, but I think I won't go for it as I'm going to be buying my phone because it's kind of on the feminine side. And I think if this lineup shows up, I'm probably going to be going for one of the classic colors, but I still really personally hope that they will add another shade of blue to the lineup because Sierra Blue and Pacific Blue were one of my favorite colors ever. So we'll just have to wait until the final event to see which colors they actually choose. So if you were hoping that USB-C will be coming this year, I'm here to disappoint you, it's not. It's staying Lightning this year. But next year it's strongly rumored to change over to USB-C or even go portless, which I highly doubt that Apple is actually going to go through because the MagSafe ecosystem isn't really there yet, but there could be a possibility of them just offering a phone without the ports to extend the MagSafe ecosystem even more. For this year we are still stuck with Lightning, but I hope they will at least increase the transfer speed so I can transport all of my ProRes files back and forth way quicker. As it goes for the inside of the phone, Apple might be actually adding something brand new, a brand new vapor chamber cooling system, which will keep the phone cool even in stressful situations where it's going on full tilt. The dummy units case manufacturers have shown us Pro phones are getting even wider and taller camera bumps this year, which means there's going to be the long rumored 48 megapixel sensor in there. This is going to enable Apple to finally shoot 8K on the iPhone, which has been done previously on some Android smartphones, but it didn't really turn out well, since the quality isn't what it's supposed to be. But I think Apple, with all of its software processing that it does with regular video in 4K for example, and it completely nails it, it's going to nail 8K as well. And it's going to be the first smartphone that is actually going to be used for shooting 8K. But if you don't care about video as much, but you care more about photos, this new sensor will be using a technique called pixel binding. Just quickly explained, works like this. The phone takes a 48 megapixel picture. It binds down 4 pixels next to each other, combines them, and then it outputs a 12 megapixel image as a final product, which means the detail in the pictures is going to be way better. But this also has a slight downside, not being as good in low light, which I'm really interested to see how Apple will deal with. The Pro phones are also going to be getting some kind of an astrophotography mode, which was basically confirmed the day Apple sent out their invites for this year's event. I think these astrophotography photos will be taken by the brand new ultra-wide camera, which will be upgraded especially in the low light department because it has been lacking behind in the past few years. So Apple has done finally something to improve it, using a lower aperture to capture way more light. Also, the full lineup of phones will be getting upgrades to its front-facing camera, giving it a slightly lower aperture to again capture more light, and also finally implementing autofocus. A lot of these features are just going to the Pro iPhones, but if you're buying the 14 or 14 Plus, you're still getting last year's 14 Pro camera, which were just amazing, and it's still completely usable. The slightly controversial news that we've gotten is that Apple won't be upgrading the chips in the regular 14 and 14 Plus, but instead only upgrading the 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max to A16 chips. But I still think they are going to add 2 GB of RAM to the regular series just to make it 6 gigs of RAM, which was the previous 13 Pro's RAM. And I think they're also going to call it the A16, and the new chip that's going to be in the Pro models, they're probably going to be calling like the A16 Pro, just to enhance the marketing a little bit, making them feel a bit more special. Apple has been also working on implementing car crash detection on the iPhone, which would also come to the Apple Watch with its already present fall detection. All new iPhones are going to be getting Qualcomm's Snapdragon X65 modem, which is the first 10 gigabit 5G modem and antenna system for a smartphone. This will enable the phones to get even greater speeds in 5G and also incorporate satellite connectivity, which will give the phones the ability to send messages or even have calls even in areas with no signal. Apple has been working with Globestar to incorporate this feature, and I'm sure it's going to be very useful and save a bunch of lives. They are also going to be upgrading to Wi-Fi 6E, which will achieve greater speeds and lower latency. So after hearing all of these great features that are coming this year, what are the actual prices for these phones? So apparently Apple is actually going to be lowering the prices of the base iPhone 14 model, going from $799 to $749. The iPhone 14 Plus is going to be $849, and to separate the regular models from the Pro models a bit, they are actually going to be be increasing the prices on the 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max. For the base 14 Pro, you're going to be paying $1,049, and the 14 Pro Max is going to be starting at $1,149. But you don't have to worry as much about the price increases in the Pro models this year, since Apple is rumored to actually increase the base storage on the Pro models as well, going from 128 to 256. There have been also a few leakers that have suggested that there will be a new maximum storage variant of 2 terabytes. I think this doesn't make too much sense for Apple to actually offer a 2 terabyte variant, since there would be such a little group of people that would actually buy it. The only thing left to do is just to wait for Apple to go on stage on September 7th. And be sure to come back to my channel right after the event, as I will be going through Apple's announcements and explaining them in detail. Also, I will be going all of the other devices that Apple will announce: the expected Apple Watch Series 8, Series 8 Pro, and the brand new AirPods Pro 2. Okay, so that's gonna be it for me today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.